Hey everybody, Pastor Vern here with you for daily update, March 24th, 2020. And yes, we're moving through the month of March. For some of it's kind of dragging because of the current situation, but you know what? We're moving forward. Spring is going to be right around the corner, warmer weather and things that will lighten our souls. And I'm looking forward to that. And also, we were looking at the time where every day we get closer to the end of this scenario we're in, and we'll keep that in our hearts and to uplift us. And today, I'm going to talk to you about a subject that is always a little bit difficult for the pastor to talk about, and that's money. Now, I know many of us are concerned about our financial situations in this scenario. We don't know exactly what kind of incomes we're going to have. We've seen some wealth disappear from investments. And, we just don't know for sure what the future holds. But the one thing that the future does hold is that we are going to be people who are going to work in the principles of faith. And I'm going to share a little bit with you out of Luke today. And it comes from the story of the dishonest manager. But it says in here, whoever is faithful in very little is faithful also in much. And whoever is dishonest in very little is dishonest in much. If then you had not been faithful with the dishonest wealth, who will entrust you with true riches? And you who have not been faithful with what belongs to another, who will give you what is your own? No slave can serve two masters, for a slave will neither hate one and love the other, or be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve two masters, God and wealth. What I'm really getting at today is that this is a time to serve God with what wealth we have. And I know some of you are going to struggle with some financial things, and we're going to try to help you get through that to some extent, the best as we can as the body of Christ. And some of you have some resources that maybe you can share at a time where it's going to be difficult for others. Whatever that case may be, I'm going to ask you that to use some principles of spiritual discipline that calls for you to manage your wealth well, or manage your resources well. Now, we're in a time where maybe we ought to need to look at some things that we don't need, or maybe some things that are not making the difference in our lives that we thought they could be. And, just take those things into considerations. Are there places where I can trim my budget a little bit in a difficult time so that I can be more self-sufficient? Is there places that are God's telling me that are places that I don't need to put my money right now, that I honestly don't need to invest in those things? One of the things that I do need to lift up to you too is that in managing that, we also have to manage the church's wealth. We're doing okay at this point, but if this goes on for quite a while, we have expenses that go on like everything else. We have buildings to maintain. We have those other things that are necessary in order to keep an organization going. And at this point, I'm not too concerned, but we are going to come to a point where those resources are going to start to dwindle. What I'm asking is that as those of you who are going to have a little more tougher time in this current climate, is to manage your money in a way that you can take care of your family. God would ask you to look deeply into those things and say, hey, are these things that we can do without right now? Are these things that are priorities? For those of us who are somewhere in the middle, if we have some ways to help, like with the food pantry, with maybe UMCOR, maybe with some other local things in our area. Let us be generous to the point we can. If we happen to have abundant resources, this may be a time where we step in and say, hey, we're going to carry some of this load for the rest of us to be good managers of not only our resources, but our spiritual resources also. Take that into consideration. I don't know, I can't tell you what the future holds, but I do know that we've gone through these economic up and downs before, and we are a strong country and we will recover. It'll take us some time, but if we're willing to do the things that will move us forward, we're going to get there. Another thing that I would ask you is to pray, continuously pray about our scenarios that are going on, especially those who have lost loved ones recently, and not being able to celebrate their lives in the way that they would like to. I'd also ask you to lift up folks that are sick, and especially lift up all the folks that are essential to keeping us all going, our healthcare professionals, our grocery stores, our truck drivers, our pharmacists, the folks that provide the things that we need daily. Keep them in your prayers. If you have a chance to show a little bit of kindness to one of them, that's a great way to use your resources, is to show that little bit of kindness, maybe just to help them through their day. All right, if you've got a chance to brighten somebody's world, do it. It'll make both of you feel better. Once again, kiddos, if you have Easter drawings, paintings, or whatever that you want to share with the church, you can send them to Box 209, St. Edward, Nebraska, 68660, so that we can use them for our Easter worship, whether we're together or whether we do it online. We're going to use some of those, so keep them going. And I just give you my greatest blessing that I can give you is that we all care for you, and we are hoping that we can be together soon. We will see you tomorrow. Pastor Vern.